the students. Experiencing a beautiful initiation into an imaginary world, his students find themselves upon arrival immersed in an unfamiliar garden of biological delights, consisting of its liquids that reconfigure their shapes in all directions in relation to the fever of the candle. Magnetic bodies found in the perpetual chase until the clock strikes 12. And suspended glass crystalline stalactites that appear magically out of thin air. It's a fantastic journey into the poetic imagination of natural systems residing between fact and fiction. The groundbreaking work displayed throughout the pages of this book testify not only to the innovative pedagogy of the instructor, but also to the unwavering commitment and creativity of its student authors. In recognition of Zbigniew-Schifter's reputation as one of the leading futurists of his generation, as well as his profound contribution as an outstanding educator in Rensselaer's School of Architecture between 2010 and 2020, we are pleased to announce the release of the book, There's No Place Like Foam, and Dancing About Architecture. Zbigniew, welcome back to the School of Architecture. Thank you for everything that you've done for the school, for the students, and for the discipline. I need.
Thank you very much. This book would be not possible without you, your support, and your judgment over the years. I began with this book to think, to document work with the students in 2012. So, and I regularly make images of students also in a way to show the not only project, but faces, but also this social element in the book is very important. All studios, maybe few studios in the beginning, 2010, maybe not, I don't have images of students, but later on, all students here documented, and I found this very, very important. And second, I gave the chance the students that they write themselves about the project. So I made only very short comments to begin of the studio, and sometimes the work was moving in totally very strange direction. When you imagine some title of the studios was very unusual, like architecture in the eyes of your dog. So it was not easy for students to understand what it's about. And but later on, I think this freedom that I gave them and was really had a beautiful result. It has nothing with maybe with animal architecture or animal vision of architecture. So the second also I try in this book that the students start to be very personal. So to be personal, this is not unusual in architecture, you know? So we are doing just very impersonal approach to what we are doing. I asked them to be really very close to the project, and this project and discouraged not every student could follow this strategy, but some of them made a really amazing project, and I'm happy a few of students from my studio discovered that they are artists, and they went later on to study art, and they contact me very often and send and thank that they could discover themselves that they maybe not architect, but they are really good artists. So the title here is the two titles. The first part of the book is related to the material research. I came here in 2010 with experiences and my work, as an artist, architect, and researcher. And I exhibit, I didn't build any object, but I exhibit with bio-artists. It was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, so a big group of bio-artists, international artists, that I was only architect between them. Now there are many architects, but at that time I was only architect. And that was very important for me and very important for them. Was the scale of biology and the scale of architecture are so different. And we have to be careful. I have learned from myself not to really juggle with some relationship between architecture and biology, because it's not about form. It's just much, much more deeper. So I have learned to be honest, and from them, from my colleagues, the bio-artists. And yeah, I'm very thankful. The second part of the book is this 5 years of research, and with students is more conceptual. This is dancing about architecture. This is quotation from Frank Zappa, a famous musician. He was asked, that's very famous actual quotation. He was asked by some writer and asked him, Mr. Zappa, can I read about your music? And he said, what? No. Writing about music is the same like dancing about architecture. You can't. So, but I think yes, we can dance about architecture. I try even to make it really one-to-one, and in one studio we regularly 15 minutes was dancing to the studio and to prepare us for work. So these two different title and building the spectrum of this book. What I would like to now show you is it's not about the book, because you have in this good documented, and I think it is a very interesting object. One piece is about design of each page. Each page was designed separately. And there was really years of working on this. And then I shared this book with Evan, and Evan also would look at this from his. We have a little bit different aesthetic, so each page will be composition for itself. This maybe few of them they are similar, but most of them are different. And I think this is very important. Each image is also not information, which is absolutely usual, but also how information will be presented, how information will be presented in the book. I'm now working on and thinking about some phenomena of flatness. This book is the best example about flatness of paper as a place for information, and flatness of TV screen, flatness of computer screen. And on the end, I will show you what I mean with this, and we'll explain more exactly. Okay, this is will be not about book. It will be some elements from the book, because some project, of course, I didn't came here. I came here with all my luggage of experience about biology and about art, and how to make installation in the space, and how to work with scientists, which is very, very important. Yeah. Elements, and how to be honest in work with science, and not to be so selfishly to want something and then to make some crazy form. This was like a collaboration. We had some different levels. And then I think this my experience, if we are working on this, that we are not want to discover new architecture each Monday. This is quotation from Ms. van der Rohe. Architects want to discover new architecture each Monday. Then this collaboration with scientists basically possible, but they have to feel that the project is not realistic in the sense possible, but is scientifically realistic, scientifically right. So to design or to breed, I was asked a few 2 months ago, write a text to some newspaper in Holland about, and this is about this. I will show you a few images from what I did in different years. It's like a story, and I will explain what I mean with this. Okay, this is school, I think 1975, I'm very old architect, and I was measuring of my density of my body. That was very important for me. It was important to me to see me like a material, and I would like to know how is this my density of my body. This is simply I dive in the aquarium and measure the volume of water I push out, and then I knew my weight, and so I was here leaving you a question or the note from so it's very important for me that I know that I am compared with steel, water, oil, concrete, gold. I don't know, the speed is somewhere in between. Maybe this looks very selfishly, but it was very important for me later because the density is very, very important later. So then I was I will jump quite quick because this is just like a basic thinking about how we create stuff using small elements, putting something together and create something like a car. And this is our technology we are making. Each piece is made in different continent, and we make something very simple, something like this. We need all from our ground. So how nature is doing? I don't know if you hear about glaciation. Yes. And it's water saying it is not birth, marriage, but restoration, which is truly the most important time in your life. So normally this nature creates this embryo underwater. And underwater you kind of have places and you kind of have angles. This is just like a ball of buckyball. Made out of cells. And how do you go from this spherical geometry to real? If you put in balloon, put your finger, so you create something in the image where the nature is. He's nowhere allowed, is he? Linearity. You create the gut. On one side, where the anus, on the other side, the mouth. And all animals begin like this. Okay, sorry. Okay. So this is only how this will make in a liquid environment. So this is a little bit few images from the book. The student of my studio. The first part of this book showing processes the student discovered themselves. They deal with liquid materials, general materials, and heavy liquid materials, and materials they can be also elements that you can construct something. he put this Q slide slabs and stretched this and to create this beautiful element. This is there was a dough before, now is sugar. Nevada from India, they have in India a huge tradition to make stuff like out of sugar, and this is pink, inspired sugar, spoon sugar, and she created really beautiful. We had the idea at the time to copy this, to scan this, and make it by computer. It was 2013. Therefore, we created in the school this machine, 3D printing machine. Next element, this is gelatin, and you see this has nothing with architecture, what we do, what we think. This was just being with playing with material that the students never did. Maybe in the kitchen, because I think kitchen is very important. This is my project. So this is cheese and gelatin, some berries, and I don't know. I can imagine this is I can imagine this is very small border, but I can imagine that this could be edible. It could be have a taste and smell, and much more richer as architecture. Architecture is good. Maybe architecture is too big word in this context. Like an object that could be much more richer as we are doing now. New materiality. Yes, this is this materiality is beautiful. The jelly in German calls it the food of God. This is fascinating. And all the time it's fascinating about some etymology of words. Dish of God. So this is in use. You know, I was living a long time in Germany. They use this jelly. This is so unusual, unusual material here. And so this is maybe some too much for today. The different kind of polymers, and what's important for me and for students to discuss about this. How to work. And this is my first big project, starting gelato. I had this guy who was the director of factory in gelato close to Telford. And we together discovered the way how to create. This is balloon, this is swimming pool, and this is jelly. This is jelly. And we are taking it and creating membrane inside. And then we cut these balloons. Balloon is like a form and create the form. This is the same method that was made for Biennale, Venice Biennale, Polish Pavilion. And this is everything is edible. I don't know what kind of taste and smell was inside. This depends what can you add to when you make them. So this is, I first found such a cookbook, 2006. What's a very radical experience with such a it's me. And form as a process is very, very important elements. So it is not that I create this. If you have that slice of bread, the slice of bread all the time bent in a special way, it's like keep it rolling. And this is volume. This is volume that in architecture is very important. Was 10 years, 5 years ago, folding. Making a computer. This is just nature without any mind intervention, because water evaporates, and this piece of polymer, bends all the time. This kind of very important form, very important in the architecture. But I was proud that I not did it. That this is environment, we can have moisture and water and dough and everything here makes such a mathematical precision at this very same time. I was really surprised and looking. This is gelatin. This big piece of gelatin in Germany also was very flat, and this time I have this piece here. It's cracking and embedded in a special way. Isopycnic system, the system, of course, that's all tend to work with liquid, with water, with jelly, and it was simply go to direction to make something underwater in a weight of equal density. And now you remember my measurement of my density in school. This is many years later, but now it was very important for me to think about. This is this short film was shot in a neutral green sea facility in Germany, in close to Cologne, it's the European Space Agency, and that normally, yes, this is huge swimming pools when the astronauts dive in, and they have special suits and they swim and make some exercises that they make in space. So this is like a training because we have weightlessness on Earth, and this is for me was important to understand. When you go to water, and water for us is all the time something very special. We are going to vacation close to water. Water is very important, and yeah, this is common to us. But then this astronaut, this facilities using the astronauts going deeper and working with surveillance that they later on will be in space. And also, it's very important can we louder? All we need is because we have similar densities. So as we will go on, I think it's just very simple concepts, but for me it was very important to think about. And this is a film was made for the Venice Biennale in 2006, I think. I don't know, not remember. So maybe can we make louder? Please. Oh. I maybe go for I'm trying once more. So idea was to create underwater falls in the ocean close to Iceland over geyser, underwater geyser, because we need for that cold and hot water. So this is theory, this is this Nye volcano close to Iceland. It has caldera 50 meters on the water surface. So that is, of course, this is not reality, this is rendering. So here, and this is reality. This is this European Space Agency and neutral buoyancy facilities. This is the model of the rockets that they put in the water and the astronaut train and so these professional divers, they work with astronauts and they work with us. And we could piece of gelatin like a dumpling and inject oil inside to keep this in the weightlessness condition. I think to create a form underwater, I think this is a really huge future. And you have to imagine that was in a time when the globes in architecture, schools everywhere were really very famous, and but was created mechanically. And this is my idea to create this underwater, using water as a form. So this is quite odd. When I came here and went to school, I showed this video here. So many of you will know this videos. But okay, this is some story in this presentation today that I would like to repeat it and show you. Yeah. Okay. So this was a short film together with the piece out of Jordan in the pavilion, Polish pavilion in Venice. Okay, I will jump there. Of course, when idea in this direction working, we are thinking about using this jelly like a soil, kind of soil, and breathe on it something. This is a small bubble. You see here already something is growing. Depends, agar, for example, is using in laboratories here in this building. This is like a basement for growing of plants, and I use gelatin, then use agar in a different combination, and by rotating here, this is in biotechnology, biology institute and University of Cologne. And here, I don't know, here's something. Let's have a look. So we're doing this was the same. This is a camera inside. That this dots here, some seeds. Idea was to create something that the plant will grow inside, like an internal biosphere, bioreactor. And later on, I create this machine. This is clinostat, rotating two frames, so that the seeds inside, they don't know how they grow. And this machine is used normally for simulation of weightlessness. This is a different elements that are small biosphere inside of the bigger biosphere, and the seeds grow a very special way, and because they don't know where up and down is, and yeah. So this is you see here how they grow, so mostly like a spiral, and this is showing how normally plants are growing, and this the seed inside. So I think the future, in my opinion, the soil of the future will be look like this. It's just will be transparent. That we can use this like a soil, and in a bigger scale, not only in lab, not only in vitro. This is a very nice history, because there was before 18th century, 19th century was used gelatin for breeding plants and bacteria in lab, and was one American scientist. She came from America. She was vegetarian and was using agar, and so she proposed to Robert Koch, very famous German scientist. Maybe you can use agar, and that was the beginning of big history related to new kind of soil. This is another elements to work. Maybe I will use later on. Also using robotic. This is exhibition in Poland when how the future of flux. There was a special movement. Inside this bioreactor, the flux was growing, and we try to document how it is growing and how it can influence in this. So this is very important elements of my work. So called natural genetic. This tree is growing in a garden of Carlo right now, close to her house. So I found this, and this is very brutal idea. how we can change how this tumor grow in a way that we can control, and maybe that we can control, and it will be grow like a house for bird. And this is my small architectural project, biological project, to create maybe different kind of form. But it is very, very complex how the cell are growing. This is, of course, disease, but this very famous furniture. They use this kind of very flat surfaces of this disease, because this beautiful form and this elements to create a furniture. That was begun in Egypt. This kind of cladding of furniture, but in Renaissance especially was very famous. Yeah, this is another project that going to this small bioreactor, and this is short. I can imagine such a kind of bubble. It is something, some plants, like introverted garden going to some. Okay. And this is my last project what I'm working on about the Weddington landscape, epigenetic landscape. This is very famous drawings showing how a cell in the very first stage, how they found a way to go to be cell of the skin, to be cell of the bone, and the Weddington presented this like a diagram. You know, that they go down, they roll down, and over the landscape, and the landscape will be created by genes. Of course, this is a theoretical image, but I see this very interesting, how to describe something that is regulated by gravity. And this came here to idea of flatness. The flatness is very certain in nature because it needs a lot of energy to create a flatness, flat surfaces. But this one is a material like a water or wine that makes something absolutely unusual, to create a flat surfaces. Doesn't matter how you move your glass, the surface of wine license, like a free surface, is will be all the time flat. So there is a question why nature didn't create a wheel, and somebody can say because what was not flat surfaces. So, but in the water there is bacteria flagellum. There is one wheel nature created. Maybe we need a few thousand of years that nature will create the wheels, because it's very difficult to go to axis in a big bearing to send some information. So there is a flatness in nature, and maybe we'll create something using this. This is what I'm thinking. It's very close to the project of Super Studio, and from '72 they create living without objects. Just only theoretical surface, and this line is like a line of energy and matter, and the crossing of this line you can create something. So this is like an idea of beginning of internet, and very interesting So going through the flatness, going through the neuron, I think is very interesting. So I have now here a slide from Matrix, how to go to the neuron. Of course, you can make this in After Effects, but how to go to the water, which is in this book was a few projects. I asked a student about water walls. So you take the red pill and you go to the neuron to another side. And I think it's interesting to think like this and not really form, but this is a visit November Pacific Ocean. This is for me very powerful image. Thank you very much for your attention. Any questions?
So when you're developing these sort of non-rectilinear forms with these polymers, can you develop them in a way that you can sort of plan a program in advance and how you form them for that?
Actually, I am not a formalist, so I don't want to so. I want to create a condition that this matter, which is very creative, will make something itself. This is this idea, so not be so. I think I don't know how to make it exactly, but create condition and allows us the materiality trust us and do itself. So we are a result of this, but evolution needs a million of years. We want to have a very quick everything. So therefore we are creating and very often raping material and giving a lot of energy to create, to have something result. But to have a patient and to observe, and to be really passive. I think this is important. This is for me.
There's a different interpretation of that question, and that is to say, is there intrinsic behavior to the materials and processes that is deploying where through control chance, right? There's some predictive relationship to the spatial configuration of these figures. In other words, his entire argument is you don't design it and go that with materials. And the materials participate and collaborate in the genesis of their identity. But it is, but I think it's important, and I don't agree with that at some moment there are tendencies and behaviors, right? To the extent that if he goes underwater with certain materials, there's a certain set of morphological expressions that will emerge, and with a different material change. But it's a radically different way of envisioning design. That's why his first slide is really important when he talks about reading, because he's growing. And he doesn't actually know what it's going to be until he enters into this ritual and this kind of performance space. And you guys are dealing with representation systems all the time, which are not living, they're inert, right? So there's an intrinsic bias in the way the design process works, where you impose, maybe you impose a set of preconceptions on things. This is not a qualitative statement. I'm not suggesting there's a whole range of different ways to engage in architectural production. This is an extreme one that you often do not find with this course part.
When I came here in 2010, we discussed together to create a web lab in architecture school. Remember? I still, this is 12 years later, I still this will be very important if you have professional web lab. There is a few art schools, they have this, but any architecture schools. And to work with materials different as we are normally working will be fantastic for our future. And Of course, this is a many, we have discussed many problems because we have to hire scientists, because the way of working students in lab is totally different as the students in our studios. This is to have to be trained for this. You know? But I think this liquid technologies and biology and this is the future.
Another question.
There we go.
What's an idea of behavior that people do long time to figure out, but is invaluable to the work?
Once more, please.
What's an idea or behavior of what you do with this going on to figure out what to do? And how does that shape work? How is it valuable?
So you're asking me about my future work, for no, we have to repeat.
Please,
Okay.
Evan, can you hand her the mic?
What's been an idea or behavior of the work that you do that's been like really hard to figure out? It took a while, or it's really complex to figure out. And once you figured it out, how did that shape the way that you think about your work? How has it been valuable?
So yeah, I think this idea of working with this very unstable materials came to me very, very early. But the time when I was studying was very radical, it was 60s, not 70s. And there was also at the time was many ideas related to the plastic that we have discussed during the last lecture. I have one plastic house, but in very bad condition. So, but at the time was really like a big hope that the plastic will help us to save the planet, And then came the energy 72, I think, the energy crash, and plastic became very, very expensive, and it was not really to use. I think to create something out of water, out of liquids, I think this is a beautiful idea, and I think it's possible, but it's quite different reality.
If someone wanted to study this field of the behavior between nature and architecture, what fields of study should they go into to research about this?
Frei Otto is very famous German architects, and architects stop to build. So, and if you want to study nature, you should stop to build. You should learn from nature. This is radical. When you think how we are dealing with nature in our project, it's very certain we're using nature, we're using very decorative, so but this is not this way. And when you go to lab, or when you go to agriculture, when you spend your summer working in agriculture, you see the work on the field, and you see the work with animals, and then you will learn something, So I can imagine the future of this school, that here where we are, the green building is somewhere there, and the old field is agriculture. And that you students, the professors working, and Dean with me will collecting potatoes, for example. So I can imagine. So no, this is not a job. This is just you have to touch this with your hand. This is yeah.
We start off with dancing. Hold on. Thanks.
Hello, okay. You disagreed with Frank Zappa and you think we can dance with architecture. And clearly you convinced some scientists to dance with you along the way. And so my question is about interdisciplinarity in that dialogue. And so maybe you can tell us maybe a story or some wisdom about how you clearly as a poet cared about science, but then how did scientists care about poetry, right? In that loop, and maybe in some of those incredible videos that we saw from the labs, how did it happen? How did that generate? How did it reinforce what were maybe some preconceptions to overcome?
Yeah, I had a lot of stories related to collaboration with scientists. You know, sometimes it's very strange when you come from the street and have your drawings and show from very famous professor that was in Cologne. He was director of bacteria collection and biggest in Europe. And you want to do something with this. Of course, you have to be serious, and you have to be your really primary basement knowledge, and you have to be very cunning. And yeah, so you doesn't want to make something directly and use science or knowledge of the people. And if they see that your project has a realism, you know, so they will work with you. I had really loved many projects. What we did in Germany was without any support of any money, because they saw that it's very interesting, you know, this growing in a sphere. It's a very interesting idea, you know. You create your own environment inside. You can regulate this. Then what we did is very, very simple ones, but this idea of bioreactor and ideas, NASA is doing like this, you know, so. But experience, artist, science, artist, who said this? Bernard, so artist is I, science is we. So artist is, you know, artists that work alone in a studio, and science is big money, big company, big institution, and a lot of people working together. It's totally opposite, but there's the same, very similar element of working, but yeah, different kind of stuff.
Now, that's an appropriate question in the context of AIDS and research funding model in some institutions, which disproportionately require outcomes, right, and evidence that the money that they give you will have a direct impact on something that is, let's just, for the lack of a better term, utilitarian. And so it's extraordinary that lab gave you access to something that would cost maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars to rent, funded by federal or state aids. And then it begs the question, are different the culture in different communities around the world, nation state, are they more receptive to speculative projection than they are in the United States?
It's a good question. Yeah, those were all in Europe, everything that you showed us.
Many scientists, what discussions say, in Europe is different. It's much more easy as here, you know, because we didn't spoke about money. First was wow, there was this excitement, you know. So I remember the time. We did really, of course, we come to the step that you need to. So you need to make commercialization of your project. You know?
That's encouraging. Follow-up question. Do you think that architects in our training produce the capacity to orchestrate and to communicate across disciplines? And conversely, or do we need to generate questions that from the beginning will be interesting to other disciplines and generate projects?
Yeah, I don't know if the architect should be this main person, you know, that would be one of many, you know. So if we are sitting here, I can imagine, I'm not teaching here, I can imagine such a discussion, small groups should be here regularly, you know, that should be thinking, maybe we will create here web lab or biological lab, professional with professional equipment and professional scientists. You know, this is because this is, we can learn so much. We have discussed, but it was difficult. I came here with Patrick High and Ruth Evan discussed, it was in 2012, something like this. So it's a big project to change this, but I think now I can say, because I am here guest, so I wish maybe should be here. You know?
I agree. Thank you.
What questions from the students about?
We can begin with kitchen. We can cook. Evan bought some kitchen.
What's our name on the last? You know, there is, I hate to say this, and I probably shouldn't, part of the administration, I think there's disciplinary bias in STEM institutions, and they may be different in university. But the example I want to tell is the API collaboration. It is very difficult for those in a position of influence and control to try to get their head around the idea that biology is interpreted through another lens. And again, it's important to point out that there's a lot of regulatory pressures and liability associated with some of these materials, but we can't take that lightly. People have gotten ill working with non-standard materials, but that's not to suggest that you shouldn't go into that territory, and the proper protocols and safety precautions, that something remarkable could absolutely emerge like this. And you know, it's disappointing as well, because I actually agree with Sabine entirely that architecture could, in fact, part of this facility could be a web lab, and a lot of these materials explore on the most collaborative.
I think it's a beautiful work, amazing body of things that you've worked with. I think what you probably brought to the scientists was questions and answers. They could understand it and just a question. And that's really valuable. The questions are more important than the answers.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing more work. Maybe working a little bit with flatness this evening.
Yeah, this is in progressive school. They ask the questions is now standard, you know, not looking for answers, you know, creating questions or provoking questions. In our profession, it's a little bit different because we are related to a final project, but actually it's about process. So to showing the process is going to need different type of language and but we are focused on end product, you know, so. But asking the question is, of course, very important.
Beautiful life's work. Thank you for all your time, your effort, your creative vision to the School of Architecture. I know, and many of my colleagues can attest to this, you changed the lives of a number of students in their studios. Sometimes it's as though the lights went off.
they were working. So, thank you, Sabino.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to thank you, Evan, also that I have this privilege to stand in the front of you, presenting my work, and it was a great time to be here with all of you. And so yeah, it was. Thank you so much that I could talk to you and present my work.
Well, you're still part of the family. You can come back as often as you like.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a book for everyone outside the lecture hall. Please pick one up. And for those that did not attend in person, they can pick it up in my office in the coming days ahead. Thanks for coming in. Bye-bye.